Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I'm so excited to introduce Peter Pham, the 2024 World Wildlife Fund Youth Conservation Leadership Award winner. Peter is a co-founding youth leader of Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action. He's been helped create policies that improve wildlife preparedness, make buildings more sustainable, and empower young people to lead the change, especially in underserved communities. His persistence towards fighting climate change and empathy towards the community have made a great impact in sustainability development. Today, Peter will share his journey and insights on how grassroots actions can create big ripple effects and advance the sustainability journey. Please join me in welcoming Peter. Hi, Peter. To start with, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Peter Pham. I'm from the United States, specifically in California, where I call home. And that is where I think a lot of my climate advocacy was inspired from and continues to be in.
Awesome. So to start with, we would love to know more about the Silicon Valley Youth Climate Actions. Could you let me know about what inspired you to create and join these actions, and what inspired you to take on a leadership role in the climate activism?
Sure thing. So I'd say the moment that really inspired me to get involved in the youth climate movement was when California had those massive campfires back in 2018, 2019. You probably remember those. Those were the ones where on the news there was orange skies, apocalyptic smoke blanketing the entire state. And so that was really the first time I got to see the extent to which climate damage would affect our own communities, our own health, our own economic activities. And so that's when I decided to get involved. And it started out with organizing the 2019 youth climate strikes that happened in each cities across the world. So I was part of the group that did the San Jose one. And so once we did that, it was okay. Well, how do we translate this protest energy into actual change that will last just one day's worth of protest? It will last for a decade or more. And that's when the idea of Silicon Valley Youth Climate Action came together. It was how could we leverage our numbers, leverage our power to make a difference for the planet and our common home. And so we looked at, where have different organizations fought for climate change, and usually it's been at the federal level. And so we felt that there was a lot of saturation, a lot of attention, and also a lot of gridlock at the federal level. But most of the policy making that affects day-to-day life comes at the local and state level. And so we decided, well, there's a need. Nobody is doing any of this. Let's form this organization, and we did that. So it started out with a bunch of young people coming together, organizing meetings, um, to show up to public meetings to advocate for policy change, and then now it's slowly evolved into this nonprofit that trains young people, supports young people, and empowers them to fight for their future.
Awesome. Absolutely. I can resonate that very well. So I can see that how climate change, especially global warming, has limited some of the options that we have and also changing some of our decisions over life. And then also it is very important for us to understand, hey, what are the efforts there, especially let's say from our young people and also especially from the public, and then mapping them to where needed them the most. So we create a very important channel and then helping them to find each other. I think that is absolutely great effort for us to see in sustainability. And moving forward, I wanted to ask what strategies you have been seeing effective, especially mobilizing youth and underserved communities in climate advocacy?
And well, I think this is kind of a two-part answer for me. When it comes to young people, the first is that a lot of young people come with a lot of energy and optimism and excitement to make a difference for climate, and so they're ready to get involved. They're ready, and that is really great energy to protest. When we're trying to fight for policy changes, it's trying to like figuring out how do we leverage that energy so that because sometimes the work of policy making is kind of boring. So you kind of sit there and you're doing a lot of research uh, and then we're fighting over like a comma or like a specific line and thinking about like how something works at a systems level. Um, and then when we bring a policy forward, we have to engage different stakeholders, and not all of them are very happy. So
Yeah.
there's some pushback that comes with that. And so I think so kind of the first part of my answer is, one of the challenge has been, um, people come with a lot of excitement. How do we translate this? How do we, use their time, their skills, their talent, so that they can do meaningful work that is impactful to climate, but also at the same time helps them grow as a person, and they come leaving our organization or our work feeling very fulfilled, that they really, really felt that they made a difference. And so that's kind of the first part of the challenge. And then the second part that kind of comes into that too is, just getting more young people involved. I think a lot of young people are really excited to just get involved, but may not necessarily know what's in the neighborhood, what is going on in the world, and where are those opportunities to get to know each other, like you said, to meet each other, to find other young people who want to make a difference. And so that's kind of one of the things that I was pretty excited about with our organization, Silicon Valley Climate Action, was it was the first time we had an organization that was like very youth focused, focused on training young people. It was led by young people, and it's all about supporting other young people. And so it was a way for all of us to just meet each other. And so different students would meet each other at school clubs or university clubs and other associations. And then, by word of mouth, people joined, and we eventually built this really organic movement that has sustained itself. Um, and that's really powerful. And so I think for any group out there, there is that challenge. Yes, you're going to have a challenge of recruiting people and finding people, meeting each other, because you make a bigger difference with more people in numbers. Your power increases exponentially. And then the second is, um, where does everybody fit in? Because we can't just force people to just do a set number of volunteer work. We have to really nurture that talent, nurture that passion, and let everybody sort themselves out until we can finally figure it out. And that whole process is kind of chaotic. So sometimes it takes some patience, but I can promise people who want to kind of do youth work, it's a lot of initial input, but the long-term output is amazing. So you can trust that.
Awesome. Awesome. I definitely can resonate that as well. So I think it's very important for us to create a system that's firstly very engaging, and then it's very fun to participate, and then also let people feel that's very rewarding. And then to create a system, firstly, we need to understand what is their talents. And then we can continue to support them and maybe be as their for partner to help them to do a good match. And then this supporting system that we've been creating is helping them to continuously to contribute to sustainability, and even to empower them to create their own sustainability journey. So I 100% resonate there. Moving forward, I think is the next question. So I can tell that there could be a lot of challenges along the way. What are some good lessons that you have learned from your journey as a climate advocacy?
Before I answer that question, though, I wanted to say ditto to everything you just shared. And after my previous response, I was just like so excited that we want to make it a great experience. We want to make fighting climate change a fun and great experience. It's hard work, it's exhausting, but it needs to be fun at the end of the day.
Yes, yes,
Um, lessons, lessons, so many.
yeah.
But I'd say the big one that I've really learned is, I mean, I think it's in everything, whether it's, but especially in policy, but it can also be in any personal decision, in any community decision, any policy, any business decisions, is that there's always trade-offs involved with these decisions. When we want to do something, you got to give up something else. And I think when I started out in the youth climate movement, there was a lot of excitement, but I don't think at that time I had a very thorough understanding of the cost of climate change, we know the cost of climate change and the harm it does, but also the cost of fighting climate change, and what it means to different people and what they have to give up. And so I think in through doing different policy fights, through engaging with different stakeholders, I've learned to really build my own empathy, to recognize that, yeah, there's no matter what we do, there's gonna be a trade-off. If we're let's say we're talking about a budget, if we want to move money to one initiative, we got to take it from somewhere else. And that means that, the stakeholders involved in that something else are gonna probably lose out on that and get hurt a little bit. So at the very least, the lessons I've learned is that yeah, there's always going to be trade-offs. Um, but one of the best ways to just mitigate that trade-off is just to acknowledge it, and show that yeah, we fully understand the cost. We recognize that, but weighing everything else, we like to move forward. And I think in some ways that helps disarm some of the opposition a little bit to different policies because they can recognize they can at least have respect for me or for whoever it is who's pushing this and say, you know, you're doing this out of a good intention, and I recognize that you're putting a good fight, and we're fighting for whatever stakeholders we're going for. And so, you know, and I say that too because I know that in the youth climate movement, there's a tendency to kind of have this rosy picture about how fighting climate change is going to be a win-win all solution for everybody. You know, like one example is, you know, we need to go green, we need to phase out fossil fuels, and I'm like 1,000% we need to do that. Uh, and then, you know, we think about these communities for whom their entire existence and livelihood and culture has been built around drilling, like in the Central Valley of California or West Virginia. And then, you know, we come up and say, well, we can train them to go into the green transition jobs, EVs. And it's like, yeah, that's like from a policy perspective, what we could do. But from a real human perspective, um, it faces some tension because it's just not how people have built their own sense of identity and community around. Um, and so I've learned to just say, well, you know, first let's just always recognize those trade-offs at the very minimum, and then and take steps to demonstrate we understand and we will do our best to work together. And in doing so, it changes the paradigm of us versus them to us together, but maybe not necessarily at the same route, and that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Excellent, excellent. I can definitely understand where when you're talking about hey, sustainability is not going to be something easy, right? It's going to be a journey. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like a few months or a few weeks, right? It's going to be a few years. Seems like the first time we have like sustainability or as a concept is like 1970. So we already in this journey for quite long, and then there's no excuse for us to stop just because not everything is perfect. So I think
100%.
that yeah, and also it is also very important for us to balance all the options because we wanted to optimize our decision that's for the greater good that we're
Yep.
talking about. And it's also important for us to have a gender and also prioritize different needs from the stakeholders. Maybe we cannot take care of everything now, but we will. And then we have a very clear agenda. So this is something we can definitely do in our sustainability journey. Yeah.
And I want to add one more thing before you ask the next question too, is that, you know,
Yeah.
and part of why I really emphasize this bit on trade-offs and doing our best to like at least like, you know, we can disagree, but we can disagree respectfully and still maintain
Yeah.
cordial relations because when it comes to these kind of policy fights, you know, today we may not be on the same page, but tomorrow we might be. And so we actually might need
Yeah.
each other the next day or in the next fight, in the next policy fight. And so it's always about, well, just be flexible, be open, keep the hearts open to different coalitions and to make things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We trying to understand more, and the more granularity we can get to each other's understanding. That's like helping us to proactively listen to each other and then come up with solution. So that is something really important. So then we can keep adding to each other, and then this is also a process for us to building up the blocks for us to leading to actual action points. So that 100% agree with you on that part too. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
I'm excited. Yep,
So
100%.
cool. And then we have been talking about a little bit about you starting your part and your role as Silicon Valley's youth climate actions leader. We just wanted to understand a little bit from you too. Is like, what's the plan going forward for near term and both long term? Yeah.
Sure thing. So I mean, I'm pretty excited about the way the organization has evolved. So when we first started, we were just like we were basically like a school club or like a club outside of school that just wanted to do climate work in the community. And so it was all volunteer. It was all like people who had their heart and just had free who were just showing up on their free time or maybe not their free time, like they took time, some people took time off of, you know, maybe one day out of out of a class to show up to a public meeting to speak on an item. So that's how we started. Now we have become a full US 501(c)(3), which means that we are a charitable organization. We are nonprofit, so we can fundraise, we can have money. We have a formal board of directors on which I am on. I get to serve on. We have hired our executive director, and we have another, I think, a couple of other staff members now. Um, and we've grown our numbers. And so to, at the time it was about 40 people in my team. Now we're about 400 or something. And I think, and a bunch of people who have been involved in some way, maybe like up in the thousands, one over 1,000. So we're in a pretty exciting juncture in our organization where we have a lot more tools at our disposal to really make a difference and really make things shake. Um, and at the same time, I think it's also reckoning with what other green environmental slash climate movements have also encountered, which is, in some ways we are facing this transition where we are moving from this new protest movement into something that's a little bit more institutional, more
Mm-hmm.
established. I don't want to say establishment, but you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean. Like the 70s, you had the green movement there, and then they became part of
Mm-hmm.
governments in different countries and parliaments. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of seeing like we're becoming that a little bit. And so the exciting thing in the short term, it's thinking about, you know, how we're running different programs to support students, we're doing a career tour for them,
Mm-hmm.
different sustainability industries. We are continue to do advocacy, but we're also training them. And
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, I think the short-term challenge is how do we sustain our operations, continue to sustain this operation in a way that ensures independence, um, and ensures that our organization and our movement doesn't lose sight of that heart that really helped us create this in the first place. So that we still have that heart, we still have that grit, that willingness to like fight and really work with like barely anything,
Mm-hmm.
um, while also kind of look at moving forward and saying, well, no, we're growing, we're becoming more instant, more instant, there's more procedures, there's more things
Mm-hmm.
we have to be aware of, but our
Mm-hmm.
culture is still, we are still gonna, be that scrappy fighting for climate change. And so
Yeah.
balancing that really long term, I'm thinking about is like, well, how do we fight for the organization is, we're starting to see some of, I think, in different election results now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that the energy for climate has kind of simmered down a little bit since I think like around 2020. That's when it kind of hit a peak.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the economy hasn't done too well. People are not feeling very happy. And we know that if the economy isn't doing too well, people are not feeling very good. They are less likely to support climate initiatives because those cost money and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about, well, what kind of initiatives or strategies or vision that can we build to achieve a place where people, not only feel secure in their livelihood, in their ability to feed their families and themselves, but also continue to be comfortable saying that, yeah, we can continue to make certain changes to protect our common home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a conversation that I don't think is just salient to just my organizations. I think it's salient to every environmental organization, big and small, and every party and every government out there is and every business is, how do we continue to hit our ESG goals? How do we continue to fight climate change in the face of setbacks, in the face of
Mm-hmm.
voter setback, in the face of missing our targets, in the face of all of these things? How do we continue to like not lose morale and say we're still going to make this all work? That's going to, I think,
Yeah.
the long.
Awesome, awesome. Definitely resonate a lot there. I think the first point is like, please don't think that the effort could be small or could be meaningless because you are the only one who doing it. Because if you continue to do this and then you find a passion about it, you will attract people to join. That's one thing that I would say. Yeah. And then for that, let's say the career tools that we have, especially within this community, let's say is also very important because they can take a look at and have a good understanding about, hey, what does the business sector looks like? Can we also bring and insert some of the sustainability idea or concepts into our future job? So this is helping them to even connect the dots a lot more too. And I'm also very glad that you bring up the topic where we've been before is more like a top-down strategy, starting from governments, a lot of support for the governments. But I will feel like, especially with these coming years, we see the sustainability topic shifting from only public companies to a little bit more private sectors, and then even to the public a lot more. And that's why, even though at this moment we can see the bottom up effort is more important than ever. So what Peter, let's say, and we all have been doing here is extremely important because we want to keep this journey continue. So absolutely agree with what you have been said. Cool.
Okay.
So yeah. Going forward, I just wanted to ask a little bit about. I can see you are very motivated. I wanted to understand where comes your motivation. Yeah.
Oh, what comes from my motivation?
Yeah.
Um, I'll give you the shorter answer because it'll be a much longer story.
Okay.
Um, Basically, it comes from a place of just wanting to give back to my community. My family, are immigrants. They left a war torn country. They lost everything overnight. Had the family members jailed. Were impoverished. They left all of that, came to the US, no money, no English, no friends or connections or family, and no college degree, no education beyond third grade. And then they were able to build a life for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then raise me and me and and build our family.
Mm-hmm.
And so now for me, it's about, well, how can I continue to pay this forward to many others?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that's what motivates me to get involved in different community initiatives and fight for climate change. It's about giving back so that many other people, the next generation, but also the current generation, people like myself can have the same
Mm-hmm.
opportunities that that I got back a few years ago, or even back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
to get to where I am. And I kind of
Mm-hmm.
I'll end that kind of question more on, I guess, a more meta spiritual level, but it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, something that um, one of the leaders in the political leaders in the U.S. She's very high profile. I won't name her because she can be a bit
Mm-hmm.
controversial, but she had said, she gives a story where she's like, you know, when I quote, when I die and I go to happily meet my maker, he
Mm-hmm.
will and say, show me your wounds. And if I have no wounds to show him, he will ask me, well, I gave you the gift of life and so much more. Was nothing worth fighting for? And so she's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I want to be able to fight for all these things today so that, when the time comes, I can say, look at all these wounds and I'm very proud of them. I did my best. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a motivation at the very high level.
Awesome.
Um, to do that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's definitely something that I think is also motivating a lot of other people who are in the sustainability side about giving back. And then also this is benefiting not only the community. We can see that it is also going to benefit a lot more in the business side as well, to be more sustainable. Previously, we focusing on profitability. Now we just upgrading it a little bit that we want this profitability to be more sustainable. So it's a long-term profitability opportunity for us too. So I just wanted to also have that angle as well. And then also that leading us to our very last question here is about what advice would you give to young people who want to make a difference in sustainability?
3 words. Yes, it's 3 words. Just get started. Just
Mm-hmm.
get started. That's the
Cool.
biggest thing. I think a lot of people struggle. They have this great idea, they have a lot of energy, but maybe they never make the jump. It's always, I don't have enough time. I don't think this is going to work. Maybe I want to have some more time to fix this up. It's always little things. And I tell people, just get started. The hardest part is just to get started because the moment you get started, you won't stop. So three
Awesome.
words, just get started.
Awesome. Awesome. Just get started. So this is all from us today, and definitely have learned a lot from Peter's journey and his leadership, how he's thinking about his role, let's say, in his communities and all that. The one thing is very important is make the journey not only to be meaningful, but also to be fun, engaging, and also include all voices in making, let's say, sustainability policy is also very important. So thank you so much, Peter, for sharing all the stories with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.